All right, in this video, we're going to talk about the tech that we're using. It's sort of helpful to understand the different parts. The thing about JavaScript and JavaScript frameworks in general is that even if you use a full framework like we are, like Next.js, you still have to bring your own X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to go through the major building blocks that we're using here and explain what they are for and why we are using them. So this is the app that we're building. It's called SickFits, and it will show you things. You can go ahead and add stuff to your cart. You can open your cart. You can check out with your credit card. You can see any orders that you possibly have had before. You can modify your account. You can go ahead and sell your own items. So this is just an application that allows us to hit upon all the things that I want to teach you in this thing, which at the end of the day, we're touching upon a lot of advanced React topics, as well as learning GraphQL along the way. And the back end of that looks like this, where it will probably look a little bit different by the time you are on this. There's just a new version of this being pushed out that I am going to record the backend part with. So it might look a little bit different. Don't sweat it if it does. It will all be the same in the course. You can go things, you can see your items, you go ahead and create one, you can upload images, select who the item belongs to, all that good stuff. So let's go through all the different parts that we have. I've got them right here. So the front end, which is the actual application that we have here, that's built in React, Next, Apollo, styled components, and I'm going to say friends, because there's a couple other packages here and there that we're going to be using. So first thing is React. React is the library for building user interfaces. So React is really good at one thing. It's good at taking data, putting it into templates, and then rendering it out to the DOM, to your web browser. And when that data that's in your templates updates, React is really good at knowing how to efficiently and quickly update that on the page. And that's at the core. React, it does a little bit more than that in terms of we can do some basic state management with it and whatnot, but at its core, React does that. The next piece that we use is Next.js. So Next.js is a framework for React. It takes the good stuff of React, and then it adds things like routing, pages, static rendering or on-demand server rendering, images. So it takes all of the stuff that you need out of a framework in terms of like, how do I make pages and how do I build this thing and how do I deploy it? It takes all of that and puts it into a framework for you. So I am a big fan of Next.js, and we're going to be using that in this course. The next thing is Apollo Client. So Apollo is a company that does a lot of stuff around GraphQL. And in order to query all of the items that we want, in order to create charges and charge the credit card and all that, we need a way to interface with our GraphQL API and to load in the data, provide loading states, provide error states. We need something that is going to be able to cache the data, so we're not unnecessarily fetching that from the network. And that is what Apollo Client will do for us. So we'll be integrating that pretty tightly into our application anytime we want to either fetch data or push data to our actual server. Next one is Style Components. Style Components is a great way to do what is referred to as scope CSS in React. So we're going to be writing a whole bunch of reusable styles, things like, let's take a look at our actual application. Everything from like this tiny little title that says Goose or Ultra Boost, the pagination, the navigation, all of these things have styles that are associated with them. And being able to create reusable styles that are scoped, meaning that if we make changes to the CSS on this and we accidentally have a class name that's the same somewhere else on our page, that's not going to be affected. So there's lots of options for using CSS in React. And Style Components is one of my favorites, and I think you'll probably like it. And the main benefit here, or the main thing that I want to get across, is that it's going to teach you the ideas of writing CSS in React applications, and more importantly, how to write modular scoped CSS components that can be reused. And quite honestly, the ideas that we'll learn here are applicable to all of the other CSS and JS frameworks. So don't stress if you rather use another one. You'll be able to make the switch pretty easily. Let's talk about the backend now. The backend is Keystone JS. So what is that? Well, Keystone JS is a framework that gives us a what's called a headless CMS. And what a headless CMS is it allows you to log in to your CMS. We can create all of our different data types like cart items and actual items, and it allows us to upload photos. It gives us this really nice interface that allows us to manage our data. You've probably used something like this. And then out the other end, instead of us having like a Keystone theme or something like that, which you might be used to in WordPress land, is it will actually give us a GraphQL API. Let me scroll up here. It gives us a GraphQL API that will allow us to write these things called queries, where we can query all the items. And for each item, I want to get the name and the price of that. And then go ahead and run that, and it will return to us all of our data. This is the part that we're going to learn that is referred to as GraphQL. We're going to use Apollo to make these queries and to pull the data into our front-end application. So again, Keystone is going to provide us a GraphQL API based on all of the CRUD, create, read, update, delete operations in our CMS here. And then Apollo will make the queries to Keystone and put the data into our Next.js app. So Apollo is sort of the person in the middle that goes and fetches the data and then injects it into our React application. Keystone JS is written in Node.js, and all of our resolvers will be written in JavaScript. Under the hood, it uses either MongoDB, which I will be using in this tutorial, but you can also hook it up to Postgres database. If you take a look here, they've got how to hook it up to Postgres, as well as you can hook it up to Prisma if you've ever used Prisma before, which is pretty cool. So it doesn't matter what database you use, because the code that we write for Keystone will just be figured out under the hood. So you could hook it up to any database. I know a lot of people really like Postgres versus Mongo, so they'll use that, or some people are diehard Mongo fans, so they'll want to use that. So that is the tech behind this. Let's jump in and actually start getting set up with our front end and building our Next.js and React application.